soon after departing Riyadh, the pilots of Saudia Flight 163 get terrifying news.
Fire! Fire in the cabin.
A fire in the cabin isn't spread very, very rapidly.
Fire equipment is in standby positions and ready.
The passengers were probably terrified.
They're able to return to the airport.
Okay, we are shutting down the engines now and evacuating.
But only minutes later,
Saudia 163, do you read?
everyone on board is dead.
None of it made any sense.
Investigators discover critical evidence on the cockpit voice recorder.
It's just smoke in the aft.
He continually downplaying the situation.
If he had gone back to see for himself, then perhaps things would have been different.
It's 9:20 on a hot evening at Saudi Arabia's Riyadh International Airport.
Saudia 112, line up and hold. Clear to leave Riyadh via Derma. Climb and maintain 350. Left turn from takeoff.
In the tower, controllers are handling a full roster of flights. Most are scheduled after sunset, when the heat dies down. Everything is running smoothly.
Riyadh, Saudia 163.
Until a recently departed Saudia flight calls in.
Go ahead.
163, we're returning back to Riyadh.
Which changes everything.
Clear to reverse course back to Riyadh. Request reason?
Saudia 163, we've got fire in the cabin, and please alert the fire trucks.
This is extremely dangerous. It doesn't get any more serious than this. This is basically a pilot's worst case nightmare.
Okay, cleared back. You can descend to any altitude you'd like.
163, we can descend to any altitude.
When an aircraft reports to the air traffic control tower that they have a fire on board, they clear other airplanes out of the way, and that airplane is given top priority to land, and an evacuation should then ensue.
The flight originated in Karachi, Pakistan, before stopping over in Riyadh. It was heading to Jeddah, but now must turn back.
You're number one for landing.
163.
Saudia Flight 163 is a TriStar L-1011.
The L-1011 is a 3-engine, wide-body, long-range transport airplane. It was designed to go very long distances, carry hundreds of people, had excellent performance, and mechanically reliable.
There are 287 passengers on board, and some at the rear of the cabin are having difficulty breathing. The smoke is the first indication of a fire the pilots reported to air traffic control.
The passengers were probably terrified, and the aircraft needed to be on the ground as soon as possible.
38-year-old Captain Mohammed Ali Khawaita is the pilot flying. He's been with Saudia for 15 years and is now responsible for getting the plane and passengers back safely. 26-year-old First Officer Sami Abdullah Hassanain is the pilot monitoring.
How many passengers on board? We've got a full load.
I would declare an emergency.
Yeah.
American Bradley Curtis is the flight engineer.
You really could not fly an airplane like the L-1011 without a flight engineer to manage all of the aircraft systems that modern-day aircraft are all done by automation.
Flight 163 is now less than 4 minutes from the airport.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stay in your seats.
emergency crews are standing by.
Riyadh, Saudia 163.
10 miles final. Runway in sight. Are we clear to land?
163 clear to land. Wind 320 at 5.
Clear to land. Can you confirm you alerted the fire trucks?
Affirmative.
Thank you.
Riyadh, Saudia 163.
Pardon the intrusion. About the data.
As the smoke in the cabin increases, the purser does her best to prepare passengers for landing.
Oh, it's you, Danhong. What about the data?
Place your hands behind your head, head between your knees.
No, wait.
Saudia 163 has been on fire for at least 17 minutes.
Where are your clothes?
A fire in the cabin can spread very, very rapidly. It can be very difficult to contain. So it becomes a race against time.
Saudia 163, fire equipment is in standby positions and ready.
Please advise the fire trucks to be at the
Tail of the airplane after touchdown, please.
Yes, will do.
My clothes? I'm hanging them up to dry right now.
20, 10.
The L-1011 touches down, 16 minutes after the crew first called in the fire.
Got a bit soggy on the previous trip.
Tower, could you advise if there's any fire in the tail of the aircraft?
Stand by.
Guys, do you see a fire in the tail?
The controller checks with the fire team on the ground.
Negative. We don't see flames.
No, no fire.
They say no, nothing they can see.
163.
Saudia 163 now turns onto a taxiway and comes to a stop.
My eyes.
Once the aircraft comes to a full stop, it theoretically should be able to be evacuated in under 90 seconds.
Saudia 163, do you want to continue to the ramp, or do you want to shut down?
We need to get Stell more clothes.
Stand by. Okay, we are shutting down the engines now and evacuating.
Okay, Saudia 163, understand you are holding and shutting down.
Affirmative and evacuating.
When you have a fire in the cabin, the available oxygen is being eaten up very quickly. Passengers cannot breathe. They are being overcome by smoke and fumes. And you have to get the doors open and get people out.
The plane's doors remain closed. The fire is spreading.
There's fire in the tail! Tell them to turn the engines off!
Firefighters are unable to approach the plane.
With an aircraft of this size, even with those engines at idle speed, they can actually still suck individuals into the engines.
Captain said he's switching off the engines and evacuating now. Put the fire out, please.
We can't because the engines are still running! The engines are still running, I can hear them!
So as these toxic substances continue to build, such as carbon monoxide, eventually you lose consciousness and you die.
Saudia 163, do you read? Saudia 163, do you read? Saudia 163, if you read, shut down the engines.
You too, huh?
There's no response from the cockpit, and no signs of an evacuation.
So none of it made any sense.
3 minutes and 15 seconds after stopping on the taxiway, flames consume the aircraft. Not a single person escapes.
Heart breaks for them.
The next morning, the scale of the devastation is clear. The fire has obliterated the upper fuselage from tail fin to cockpit. All 301 people on board are dead. It's the second deadliest single aircraft disaster to date.
It was a very tragic situation. It was just inconceivable to everyone.
It's now up to investigators to sift through the smoldering wreckage to find out what happened.
Flight 163 had two main questions to present to the investigators. One was why the aircraft came to a stop and didn't evacuate the passengers. And the other was, why was there a fire on this aircraft in the first place?